Yeah, I think so.
Start off with a compliment.
All right.
Cool.
Hey guys, welcome to the Raw Barbell Club podcast. I'm here with Kurt Rich from Sydney Boys High School. How you doing today, man?
Yeah, really good. Really good.
How's the drive?
Yeah, not too bad. My father, in his genius way, had a few hours spare, so he ordered 2 tons of soil yesterday afternoon to spread across his lawn. So I was shoveling soil and then halfway, and then came over here. So yeah.
Was it rainy where you were?
Yeah. So just a
So
bit
you were
of
shoveling mud, not soil.
Yeah. It's like adding chains or resistant bands, just to further challenge yourself. That's what my dad's all about, making something simple harder.
But how good is like a hard day's labor?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Like, I think people that do that sort of thing, hats off to them. It's definitely not easy, but it's fun, yeah. But I of course, being a nerd, I was making sure I rotated different ways with a shovel, and then halfway through I changed which hand was on the bottom, just to keep the body as even as possible.
Yeah, you don't want to develop any imbalances of one day's work.
Yeah, definitely not. No.
So I actually saw you posting the other day about you getting your athletes to rotate or jerk with opposite legs as well.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Okay, so it could be just a massive phobia of mine coming from a background in rowing and stuff, but I had all these problems because my body was so uneven. So almost everything I do with the kids, I'm constantly thinking about, okay, where have they come from? And then everything they introduce, it's like, well, let's keep it even and not prioritizing one side. And have you ever tried jerking with the other?
Yeah,
leg?
I have. Yeah.
Okay, and
of course I have. Have you seen my Instagram?
But it's it's a when you have to do something with your non-dominant side or the side you least prefer, you actually think about it more.
Yeah.
And there is some evidence to sort of show that not only is it good for your muscles and that, but it's also good for your brain to sort of go, okay, you have to think about it more. Then when you go to your dominant side, not only is your body more even, but sort of the brain sort of thinks about it and goes, bang, it's something much more simpler.
Yeah.
So I don't know,
you're more cognizant of it.
Yes. So it's sort of like you say, if you're kicking a soccer ball always with your right leg and then you try to kick it with your left, you know what I mean? You actually have to think and process it. Then you go back to your right leg and it's simpler.
And if we think about the population you deal with as well, which is majority kids,
yes,
then I guess balance and imbalance is actually very important because they're not always weightlifters either, are they?
No, we do not. I do not set up with a core intent to turn them into the best weightlifters in the world. I teach them how to lift, and this so happens that I believe that to be a good weightlifter means you're very well encompassing of all things strength, you know what I mean? You're well balanced, you're powerful, you're strong, mobility, stability, all those things come with weightlifting, which is why we do have that sort of as our core lifts as you would be, yeah.
When you start with an athlete, I think the post you wrote was that at the start you tell them to split jerk, but you don't tell them which leg to use. Is that correct?
Yeah, I've experimented different ways, and I sort of if I was to do a split jerk, not that I do it often, my left leg will go forwards first.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'll try to just demonstrate with the right leg, or I'll just be like, we'll start in their lunge stance, and we'll do it both ways, and we'll do some bobs and some split jerk balances. But I'll just teach it both sides, and won't even tell them that one day they have to preference one leg. They'll just do it both ways, and they'll also squat jerk.
Yeah.
Yeah, just no sort of preference. It's always about that learning and teaching sort of environment.
So you're just trying to give them the greatest amount of motor pattern, I guess, not capability, but strategies. Give them the most amount of options.
Yeah, definitely.
For them to move.
Yeah. I don't because they're so young, I'd hate to sort of pigeonhole them.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Be like, you are a split jerker, you are a squat jerker, that's...
Yeah.
It's just this is different styles of jerk. Let's have some fun with it, and they do.
So for the people at home, can you tell everyone who you are and what you do? Because they might not actually know who you are.
Of course, yeah. So I have a wonderful sort of work-life relationship in that I have multiple roles within one school. Okay, so I run the weight room, which operates in the morning time before school and the afternoon, which is a lot of fun, and that's where I started my work at the school. I also get to manage 2 sports specifically, which is all the administration work for track and field or athletics and tennis. And then during the day, I'm a teacher in the classroom, teaching PDHPE, which is the normal physical education and health, and also a Year 10 elective known as PASS, which stands for Physical Activity Sports Studies, which is a really fun subject.
Can you tell me a bit more about that? Because I don't think we even had that in my school.
No, it's reasonably new. Like it definitely wasn't around when I was doing school, because I would have loved it myself. But it kind of just opens them up to this whole world of science beyond sort of like chemistry, biology. We're sort of looking at what makes up the human body. So, your body systems, anatomy, and then how does it move? How does it function? And then you start looking at some really cool areas such as like coaching philosophy, and then, technology in sport and things you can do to improve and enhance performance. So it's, it's really exciting. And particularly for those boys that they're sort of like, well, our school is an academically selected school. So, they're all quite clever, but they might not just sort of find their place in like a biology class. They might go, oh, I'm kind of more interested in the human body and, how does it function? And I watch these sporting teams and they're wearing, these vests that are called GPS. Like, what does that do? And this sort of subject sort of dives into those areas, which is, really fun to explore, and particularly the practical unit where we work on their ability to coach. So the kids actually coach each other in different sports that they're not familiar with. So we do things like European handball and American football, and they get a lot out of that, coaching their peers, and it's a good skill to have, I think.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
And so I don't know if New South Wales is the only state that has this selective program, but can you explain to people that may be outside of New South Wales or outside of Australia what a selective school is?
Okay, so basically I
want to preface this by saying I went to a selective school.
in primary school, you get, I think it's about June in Year 6, you sit the selective high school exam. You don't have to, but you opt in to do it. And you also have to preference a particular school, so like 1, 2, 3, 4. And different selective schools will have a different intake. So I'm pretty sure James Bruce has the highest level, and then, maybe Borkham Hills, I think, and then maybe Sydney girls, Sydney boys, North Sydney boys, they're all around a similar sort of level. And if the boys preference this and they get above that cut, and then, the school will take in the amount of boys they can, yeah. And then so that's how it sort of begins. So the boys come into our school all excited to learn, and then we sort of introduce them to a world that's well encompassed, I believe, in terms of academics and sport and extracurricular activities, like everything really, marching band, debating. Like we have 300 debaters at our school. So
you have a mass amount of debaters.
Yep.
You have mass debating going on.
You said it, not me.
I'm sorry, I couldn't let that slide.
But I was going to follow it up with that. We had 240 boys in the athletics program this year, which was 140 more than the next biggest GPS athletics program, which was the King's program.
And what is a GPS athletics program?
So we are a public school, although we're academic selective. The GPS that we are a part of and have been since the start of it.
What does GPS stand for?
I think it stands for Greater Public Schools, but they're all private except for us. So.
Okay.
Anyway, but it's just a sporting program. There is one in Queensland, there's one in every sort of state. There's a Melbourne High, there's a Sydney Boys High, Brisbane High, and within the GPS sporting program, we come up against schools that they're all private and they all sort of have like decent resources and different makeups of kids depending on the different sort of school that they're at, and creates an exciting sort of sporting environment.
Yeah.
And because we're a public school, in some sports we also compete at a state school level as well, which sort of gives the boys multiple opportunities to do tours and go into different competitions, which just adds to the school life, I believe, Like if you don't want to limit the amount of opportunities a kid has to do things that they enjoy.
Yeah. I've met you a couple of times, and what strikes me as being really cool is that you're just so passionate to teach these kids about sport, about their bodies, and like how athletic and strong they can be. Was this something that you got from high school as well? Or
I guess I was always into sport and like just enjoyed it and got so much out of it. And like so many of my best experiences, like if we were to sit around a campfire and tell stories, they'd have some sort of relation to sport. You know what I mean? And I was never particularly fantastic at any sport. You know what I mean? And I definitely was not a natural. Like I was so unco as a little kid. You know what I mean? Like I still remember my first ever soccer tryouts where they had a ball on a cone and you had to like kick the ball and like I completely missed it. And it's like, yeah, that was my starting point, you know. That was me as a 4-year-old, just being like super nervous in front of all these people watching me. I just like missed the ball. Anyway, but you know, I just sort of love looking at things. Go, okay, how can you get better at this? How can you improve? You know what I mean? Like I remember when I was into my cricket, and you had I'm not sure if you did much cricket in your day, but Donald Bradman used to hit a golf ball with a little stump, you know, against like he's sitting in his backyard. And then Steve Waugh used to hit like a cricket ball and a sock with a string on a little like sort of thing. So I combined the two. I got a golf ball and a sock and a stump off a string, and would just practice my, you know, forward defense and drives like every evening when I got home sort of thing. And yeah, so sort of like always into that. And this the friendships I think you can get from sport and the things you learn from it and the confidence it give you in everyday life, you know what I mean? I think those are the things you want to sort of, I believe, you know, you can pass on to kids, you know, because at the end of the day, you know, like feeling good about yourself, you know, for whatever reason is going to make a huge impact on how your outlook on life and how you approach things. And I think sport can improve that.
Are there things other than sport that can also give people these things? Or do you think sport is like just the easiest and most bang for your buck way?
No, I think anything that creates like value or like a sense of self-worth is worth pursuing.
Yeah.
I just have learned so much from sport, you know what I mean? Like whether it's a individual sport or a team sport, you know, like I think that's just where my passion comes from, and that's just I do believe that those opportunities, are particularly in Australia, they're just right there and just ready to grasp, you know what I mean? And also just a big believer in that everyone should be physically competent, you know what I mean? Like I think exercise is one of the most underprescribed sort of tools in today's society, you know what I mean? Like so often people, they just sort of take it, I'm on this pure to ease my pain or whatever, you know what I mean? It's just such a sad outlook when you look at it, you know what I mean? Whereas you can be like, well, do you really need that, you know? Or like, have you explored yoga, you know what I mean? Have you explored getting stronger to help you handle your work life, you know what I mean? And see how you go after that, which is, you know, like something that I think as an adolescent you can really set yourself up for, you know, a life without pain.
And is that what you see your responsibility as then?
Yeah, like particularly now, you know what I mean, having gone through plenty of years of training really hard, but maybe not doing things where I could be like, this is going to set me up to train forever, as we all do, you know, when you're 23 and bulletproof, you know what I mean? You're not thinking about your recovery, are you? No. You're just thinking about when do I train next? And then now I'm sort of going, oh gosh, like I'm doing things to make sure that I'm going to be a healthy father. I'm going to be a healthy grandparent, you know what I mean? Like setting myself up, and you go, well, if I had started some of this earlier, it might not have been such a bad track. Yes. So, you know, just giving the kids a bit of a dose of like, look, listen to your body, understand how it functions, how it moves, and, you know, just, yeah.
How did you find weightlifting?
Okay, so I was very blessed in that the strength and conditioning coach I had when I was doing my surfboat rowing, he was the sort of, you know, founder of the real strength and conditioning at Sydney Boys High School. He started like having a real structured program there about 11 years ago.
Yeah.
So he sort of took me and my crew on board and trained us for free, and we, you know, did some Olympic lifting as part of our training because it's such a huge crossover to any sport, being able to clean, snatch, jerk, you know, just all that explosiveness and strength that's required. And he always had this dream of the weight room becoming an established weightlifting club. not to sort of take over what the weight room was there for, was the weight room is there to teach the boys how to lift and also support them in their PDHPE or sport programs. But just sort of be there to sort of showcase kids that, oh, look, if you enjoy weightlifting, there's an actual sport you can pursue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's very readily available. You know what I mean?
And who was this coach?
His name was Jason Tassel, so shout out to TJ.
Is he still around?
Yeah, he's up in Queensland at the moment.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he did a few years in PNG.
Yeah.
So he was part of the PNG Hunters when they first sort of started, like
Cool.
set up the gym there and that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's a very knowledgeable man in terms of getting you strong. So he's a good guy to have around. But, so he always just had this dream, and when he left...
just to interrupt you, were you at Sydney Boys?
Yep.
Okay,
Yes,
so
I was working...
So you studied at Sydney Boys?
Oh, no, I didn't go there. So I was working underneath him
Okay.
when he was sort of... Yeah, I was doing multiple jobs after uni, and one of them was like a sort of assisting him.
Okay, cool.
And he would ever go away, I would look after the gym then.
Yeah.
And then when he left in 2014, I was fortunate enough to be given the head strength and conditioning role. But he always had that dream, and that's the sort of year we sort of got things done. We did the fundraising barbecues and all that sort of thing to get the kids the shoes and the entry fees, and we sort of started from there and haven't looked back since. Really, it's a good little top level for the boys to sort of see that, because I say to them, I go, as much as we love to think it, team sports may not always be available to you because of your job and all sort of thing, but weightlifting is so accessible.
It is. I mean, all you really need is a bar and some plates.
Which is the beautiful thing of the sport, you know what I mean? It's like really something that you can just pursue and enjoy and get so much out of, and it is accessible.
And it's kind of objective enough that, you can track your progress and keep yourself accountable.
Which our boys love. They love stats. They love figures. They love the fact that there's no... there's very little external factors, you know what I mean? It's just one of these sports where it's like you're on the platform and let's see what you got sort of thing, which is very daunting. But, you see them come off the platform, that the boys that I have experienced compete, and it's like going through some sort of like ritual process, like it really has a profound impact on them. And there's very few people that I've found that have, not just from my experience with my athletes, but other athletes that have competed and said, oh, never again.
Yeah.
I have not seen that yet, you know what I mean? Like everyone goes, oh, this fuel to the fire, like let's train, let's train smarter, like let's get stronger, let's get better at this, which is amazing, I think anyway.
No, I do too.
Yeah.
It's the greatest sport in the world.
Yeah.
It's a punishing sport. It's, I guess, all of us have this bit of sadomasochism to us. We want to beat ourselves up. And I guess that's what weightlifting gives us.
Yeah, it's also, it's a good sport for the brain as well, because although, it's very much a strength and power sport, there's always things that you can do smarter and better. You can, improve your efficiency in, say, the way you lift, whether it's your technique, or you go, is everything I'm doing for my recovery on point, or does, everything I'm doing in my program support what my needs are on the platform? It's a very cool sport in that way, you know what I mean? It's constantly has the coaches and the athletes thinking, sometimes too much, which is we've all encountered, but it's a very interesting and exciting sport in that sense, where you're constantly improving, you know what I mean? And because we're in a country where I couldn't tell you how many professional weightlifters we have, but all your stories that you had on your podcast for the Commonwealth Games, they're talking about managing work or relationships or this something, and that can be like a real curveball that you have as a coach and an athlete have to work around. And, that exists in any sport, but like it's just very exciting with that objectiveness there, you know what I mean? So you can win like a soccer game, but you might not be able to put it down to an exact thing you did at training. Or you might see like an athlete finally, lock out on that jerk, and you're like, thank goodness we've been doing jerk recoveries until the cows came home, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it came off, or it didn't. What do we need to do differently? So that's the exciting thing about the sport, the pure objectiveness of it.
And do you think that's why coaching weightlifting is sometimes just as exciting as being a weightlifting athlete?
Well, unfortunately, I've never had the experience of being on the platform myself, but I do.
What?
Yeah. But I do.
We're gonna get you into a comp, man.
I do think that it's very much like that. It is an exciting thing being in the warm up room.
Yeah.
It's like all these different elements, like the competitiveness of like, writing down your number really quickly and or like shouting out depending on what level comp you're at, and like making sure your athlete's good to go, and it's just, and setting up a comfortable warm up area. It's exciting. It's really cool. Like I've coached other strength sports like powerlifting, which is really cool, like high intensity, but generally whether the athlete's going to get the lift or not, because it's just a A to B kind of thing, and as long as your athlete doesn't have any mobility issues or anything that's really off in their technique, they're not going to get, DQ.
Red-lighted, yeah.
Like, it's the standard for how low you have to squat. It's pretty set in stone. It's just like, you got to be parallel. You're like, all right, my athlete can hit that easily. And, so when they go up, you go, yep, this weight's well within their reach. They get it. But whereas weightlifting, you know what I mean? Like you go, yep, the last 6 months they've hit this every single time without fail. And they go out there and they do something, you're like, that looked a bit different than what we... They're like, you want to say, like, did you forget how to lift? But you can't say that, of course. You got to be, that didn't go the way we wanted, but, this is the way we're going to approach the next lift. Are you okay with that? You know what I mean? Or it depends what kind of coach you are. Maybe he will say something along the first lines, but not as politically correct.
I've seen both ways. I've seen coaches, like an athlete comes off the platform and coach goes, "What the hell was that?"
Yeah. Well, and isn't it? Have you ever filled out the form that goes on? When an athlete reaches a certain stand, they get looked after potentially by a different coach.
Yeah.
Have you ever filled out those forms?
Yeah.
And it's amazing how much detail you could actually put down. Like it's just in the back of your brain, and it's like you've taken the Limitless tablet, and it's all just come to the forefront. You just want to write 10,000 pages, but you just got to put it into 3 dot points. And like I remember when Vu called me up to speak about Rick for the upcoming nationals, and I said, look, it's like coaching 2 different people. There's Snatch Rick, and then there's Clean and Jerk Rick. I go, they're 2 different people. He's like, what do you mean? I go, you got to have 2 different approaches for each lift. And I spoke to Rick about the other day. I go, yeah, you're a different human.
Yeah.
I go, we've got to sort this out, And he agreed. So yeah, exciting.
And is that because we can talk about Rick, right?
Yes.
Rick, you're a loser. No, I'm just kidding. You're literally my favorite athlete.
Yeah, he loves your DEFCON dance moves.
I do. I really do. And he even taught me how to Dougie once.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
It's,
are you saying that when he snatches, is he like sort of like has to be more calm and centered, and then when he clean and jerks, he gets to yell and carry on?
Well, to be honest, I have not mastered his snatch yet.
Okay.
I have not mastered his competition snatch, and that's truth. We have tried different things, and what I spoke to him about the other day, I said, like, what goes through your brain when you clean and jerk? He goes, nothing, I just do it. And I go, well, that is not happening when you snatch. Do you agree? He goes, oh, his head's all over the place. The way he approaches the bars all different. I was like, okay, so, we need to tackle this, you know what I mean? So one suggestion was we're going to enter comps with weights he knows he can snatch, but he's not allowed any sort of dawdling. No fixing socks, just walk up and lift it. And I go, maybe that's an approach we need to take. Because, you've seen him clean and jerk, like, there's no real doubt in his mind, You're just like, let's go do it. And
even that last one where he had to grind out of that clean.
Yes,
that was the jerk.
Yeah. Well, to this date, he hasn't missed a jerk. So whatever he has cleaned in a comp, he's hit the jerk.
Yeah.
So remarkable. He snatched is a different story. So
have you thought about asking him to invest in a pair of socks that aren't in tatters?
I think with a lot of athletes, you sort of work out the battles that are worth having, and then there's battles where it's like you could continuously have, but like is it worth it? And the socks is at that in the between stage of this thing, yeah. So maybe I could burn them or something like that. But yeah, so I'll focus on what needs to, it's sort of like a lifesaver, you know, if you come across, they tell the story, you come across 3 people that are in danger, who do you go to first? It's the one that's at most risk. So we tackle one thing at a time, you know. But I'll put it on my to-do list, Rick's socks, and we'll see where we're at come next comp.
What do you like? So when you get an athlete come in, how do you introduce them to the weightlifting movements, or even just weight training? Because I'm sure there is a lot of pressure, maybe not from the school itself, but from parents and whatnot who just may not understand what you're doing with these kids.
Yeah. Well, and that's a very good question, because still to this day, like I've read books in the 80s saying that, you know, parents think that weight training is bad for the kids and makes them slow, and like they go, hopefully in a few years these myths are busted. Well, it's 2018 and those myths are still there. You know, they have these cartoon images of kids getting crushed by weights and all this sort of stuff, where I just tell them, I go, it's a learning experience. I go, I am teaching, you know, your child how to use their body and maneuver a resistance safely and effectively. And I go, this not only improves their life now, you know, their confidence, their physical capabilities, whether it be in class, everyday life, the sporting field, but it's a life skill. It means that when they finish high school, they go, I want to continue to look after my physical health. I can go to a gym. I know how to squat. I know how to warm up. You know, I know how to, you know, cool down and recover. You know, it's an invaluable sort of life lesson we're teaching them. So when they come in, they get sort of greeted with a sort of similar thing, you know, as what their parents would, and it's just sort of, safety is number one thing. Sort of in terms of like what you're trying to bring to the attention. You're sort of looking, okay, everyone must warm up. You know what I mean? Everyone must working within each other. You know what I mean? And everyone is special, but no one is more special than anyone else. So by that I mean no weight is ever left out. They always put it away. It's kept very clean. It's a very like respectful approach to training.
Yeah.
And I think sets them up well for all aspects of life. You know, you can't have a messy, you know, sort of gym and expect to have a productive workout.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you're looking for the 20s and it's like, where are they, you know? So that's the sort of first thing we sort of get out there. And then I sort of don't assume anything about them. You know, you ask questions, get to know them, and every kid is different. And sometimes you think, like goodness, like this kid, you know, can't even bodyweight squat. They're going to take a lot of work, and then within a few sessions, you know, or even a few reps, they're good to go.
Yeah.
So it's just like a matter of exploring and learning for the athlete as well as myself. So the way that the workout is kind of set up is that we start off with a warm-up, which is we do a yoga sequence. So the reason for this is multiple sort of levels. One is I got a lot of benefit myself out of yoga, and also it's another thing you can progress. So sort of like we have our introduction to yoga and it progresses through. And it's a good thing to not only warm up the body but also the mind, because as you're doing like these positions, you kind of internally having a look at yourself going, ooh, like, you know, this feels a bit tighter, or this actually feels really good. I feel strong today. So before they even picked up the weight, they've kind of done a full body assessment, you know what I mean? And they've also been breathing. So often, like you may experience it here, where people come in from their day and you almost have to like stop them at the door and say, look, let's just stand here and talk for 5 minutes, and then you start your workout. Because if you bring whatever happened today in here, you know, your workout's not going to be good. And that's what this yoga does. It kind of creates that stop, pause, breathe. Okay, let's start the workout.
So it's almost like not just priming the body, but priming the mind.
Yes, 100%. And that, you know, because I introduced that quite early in my own sort of yoga experience, I was thinking mostly physical.
Yeah.
And then I realized the immense benefits it had on the mental. And that was like one of those, you know, like, like bing. That's an awesome thing we did. I'm glad we did that.
Wow. And I've really never thought of it that way.
Yeah. Nor did I. Just by fluke or whatever, it happened. And
no, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I have to start
Yeah, well, I'll show you. I can show you what we do. It's on my Insta as well. The yoga sequence was developed by like a actual yoga instructor who I originally started my main sort of practice with, and she had worked with like, you know, male sporting teams and all the rest of it. And so I said, look, I've got this idea, and you know, like she did it, like, you know, no charge, like fantastic woman. So always grateful for her. Every time I do a little thing, I'll tag her in it, yeah. Show how it's going. So yeah, it's cool.
That's sick.
Yeah, and then from there we move into like a bit of a prehab, you know, which is basically like priming particular parts of the body that, you know, are commonly, you know, hurt or injured or sort of need to be sort of set. So, and that sort of, you know, progresses as well as the yoga sequence. And it can also, this is the point where you can start individualizing a bit more. You might be like, oh, this athlete needs X, Y, or, you know, so, but generally it kind of looks at some sort of external rotation of the shoulder, some sort of posterior chain sort of work. So, you know, something for the glutes or the back or all, and then always some sort of Olympic lift progression. So, you know, where we always have the overhead squat basically in every program in some aspect.
Yeah.
And I actually wrote my level 2 strength and conditioning article about the overhead squat and why I use it with adolescents. And essentially, it just shows you so much. You know what I mean? It shows you so much about that person.
So it's just extra diagnostic, extra data on top of everything else.
Yeah, and, you know, and in your mind, particularly as you get more used to coaching, you remember what someone's overhead squat looks like.
Yeah.
So if it drastically changes, like that goes, well, you just go over, well, what's happened? And then you're like, I haven't seen you or someone, what's happened? They might be like, yeah, I did bench and curls for the entire summer period, you know what I mean? My chest is very sore and tight. You're like, okay, well, thanks for letting me know. We've got to like work on this before, before, you know, you do whatever it is they're about to do.
And are you getting them to do a loaded overhead squat, or is it a broomstick?
We have many broomsticks, which I'm very proud we have. And then we have barbells, which are 5 kilograms, 10, 15, 20. And everything in the warm-up and your core lifts in the program is actually in a bolded font.
Yeah.
So what that means, it means they must do it every workout, and they also need my permission to increase their weight.
I see.
So if they're doing like a bench row, they pretty much know that, okay, my arms need to be straight at the start and I pull it with control to touch the bench and then down. If it's easy for all my reps, I can increase the weight.
Yeah.
But when it comes to something like, say, like a, you know, clean or a snatch, you know, boys, you know, I do have some girls in the gym, you know, adolescents, they always think load first.
Yeah.
So I'm just there to be like, no, like that's a good weight, or yes, you're completely right. You know, it's time to increase the weight. We're going to go up to this much now. Yeah. And I sign off it and all that. So after the prehab, they move into their main workout. And we have a little motto in our gym in that they must do a leg exercise first.
Yeah.
And this part of, you know, get the...
Get that broness out of them.
Yeah, this is a good mindset, I think, for the boys to have. You know?
I think so as well.
Yeah, and then
and what is that like workout? Like what are some examples of what you would give them?
Also, like every program will have some form of Olympic lift, 1 or 2 lifts in that program, some form of hip hinging, so like the deadlift or, you know, Romanian deadlift or something along those lines, or trap bar deadlift. And a squat.
Yeah.
So whether it's a back squat, front squat, you know, so they're always learning different variations, you know, and then unilateral leg exercises, so lunges, multi-directional lunges, Bulgarian split squats, or re-elevated foot squats, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, this sort of opens their minds up to, as they progress through, they just have different variations. So they finish the program. And like say the school program, they go, well, they might be really into the weightlifting side, they might be into the powerlifting side, or they might just want to exercise to look good.
Yeah.
And by the end of our basic programs, they have, you know, 4 or 5 different variations of the one movement, you know, which is plenty to cycle through a whole year, you know. They were like, well, I want to train back today. Well, I can do bench rows or seated rows or bent over rows or one arm rows, or I could do any of those variations with a dumbbell or barbell, or change the grip up, you know. This is good learning experience, really. And it's different training adolescents than adults in some aspects, in that they get stronger just by doing the exercise well and, you know, doing these movements over and over, which is exciting to see. Like I still remember a year 7 boy. He had only ever cleaned the bar, so 20 kilograms. Did it all year with superb technique, you know what I mean? Like he had deadlifted more, but only ever the bar. And as a test, we thought, oh, what could he clean safely?
Yeah.
And, he got up to 60 kilograms and didn't even sweat.
Yeah.
And that's from only ever training with the bar. Like, sure, the strength was there from those other basic movements.
Yeah.
But in terms of that specific exercise, he had never been loaded up on it. And, like, it looked beautiful.
Yeah, wow. And I guess that even gives credence to the fact that the Olympic lifts don't often need to be trained that heavy. I know a lot of the old like Soviet texts and stuff say that they're training between that 70 to 80% range most of the time.
Yep.
And with the Olympic lifts, and I guess if your strength is going up and your technique at 80% is improving, which is pretty easy to tell, right?
Yes.
If you're going to 1RM every day and that's increasing, your technique's not really changing.
Yep.
But if you snatch 80% every day, you can see today is better than yesterday, and tomorrow is going to be better again because I'm doing that same weight over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So, do you think that? I know you said it's mainly for the adolescents, but do you think as adults we could benefit from training that way as well?
100%. Yeah, I guess I shouldn't have said only for adolescents, but it's just like I'm just a big believer in terms of like, you can read texts that say you got to train at this percentage of your max, but like with adolescents, it's constantly this. You're just trying to teach them how to learn, and my goal is that they finish school and they have their whole life of physical development ahead of them.
Yeah.
They sort of haven't peaked in high school. I mean, you lay in the foundation, which is why I should have researched so I don't mess up the quote. But on one of our little program books has the Chinese bamboo tree philosophy. So essentially, I don't know if you know the story.
I don't.
Yeah, so
Please tell me.
So you basically, when you plant the Chinese bamboo tree, it takes about 5 years of nurturing and like watering and good soil, okay, before it even comes to the surface. But then I think it's in a matter of weeks, it shoots up 18 feet. And the question is, did it grow in, a couple of weeks, or did it grow in those first 5 years?
Yeah.
And that's how we approach the weight room, you know what I mean? Because sure, like, and there is plenty of examples within high school of boys getting fed up with the schoolboy program and saying, I'm going to an external gym, I'm going to do my own thing.
Yeah.
And some of them have had success, but also some of them, they might have a bodybuilding approach and they get really big, but then they become immobile and they can't do their sport anymore. Touch wood, doesn't happen, but it does happen that they get injured. And you think, oh, this is terrible, you got injured from training. I get it. It's not a good thing,
No.
Whereas our school gym, we try to have this approach where we're constantly building them up, progressively over time with their ability to do different exercises, as well as to, get more challenges onto their body. And so that when they finish, they can say if they do get success and they can go to a sporting program and they go into the weight room and the weights coach goes, do this exercise. It's like, well, they're competent enough to do it.
Yeah.
What a huge asset that is for them, in terms of whatever exercise they ask them to do, because, they've been prepped, they're able to do it.
Cool.
We haven't limited them in terms of like trying to specialize them, going, this is all you're going to do, just these movements, we just open them up to all this sort of world. And then I should finish with how we conclude our workout.
Yeah.
So we always have we've started recently this conditioning sort of section, which is a lot of fun. And based on what program they're doing today, they'll do different things. So they'll carry sandbags in up the stairs and across and down.
What sandbags do you use?
We just have these hard sport ones. They're pretty cool. They're like 10 kilograms, 20 and 30.
Are they like
They've got little handles on them and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so they're like is it vinyl or like leather sort of material?
Yeah,
ones?
a bit of leather, yeah. And so basically, and the boys are always like, oh, what carry are we doing this week, And I'll just, okay, you got to hold one like a suitcase and one over your shoulder, you know, or you got to hold one, but both of you have to carry it at the same time. You got to work as a team, just make it fun and exciting. And another group will be doing like sled drags and another group will be on the rowing machine. So it's just a bit of a, conditioning sort of section, and then they all stretch together. And the boys sort of takes them a while to get used to it. But when they do their yoga and when they do their stretching, they have their shoes off.
Yeah.
So that's our kind of, okay, you can't stretch with shoes on kind of thing. And the yoga's, it's some sort of form of training without shoes on. But, you know, given the weight room, once they walk in the weight room, the shoes are on. Just in case.
Even though, it's always funny to me because, like, shoes don't really protect you from much.
Well, we have a little joke. I said, but some boys, you know, they try to push it and they do their yoga sequence and they try to do their prehab with no shoes on. And they walk into the weight room to get their dumbbell.
Yeah.
And I was like, I go, so you don't think you need shoes on? They're like, they might shrug their shoulders. I go, okay, well, give me this dumbbell. I'm going to drop it on your foot.
Yeah.
And they quickly move. And I was like, that's why. It gives you, won't give you much, but it gives you some level. Something.
That's true. There's at least something. I think this is a really good place to just take a quick break, just to make sure that the camera's working.
Fair enough.
All right, so we'll do that, and we'll be back in a second. Have you always been into? Oh, sorry, guys, we're back. Have you always been into superheroes?
Yeah, but Batman's definitely my favorite.
Why?
I don't know. I guess because he's like a bit like dark and cool and like an actual man. There's no real superpower, and also he's the sort of guy that will just do whatever he can to defend his city, you know? And like, it's really lame, I know, but my alarm currently I wake up at 5 a.m. for work and the alarm is Gotham needs you. Yeah. So it gives you a little chuckle and a bit of inspiration every morning. Yeah, but don't judge me just on that, okay? It's very lame, I know.
No, so I'll tell you something really funny. What got me into lifting weights, what got me into like doing all of this stuff were superheroes.
Yeah, right.
Like,
but do you know what? The whole superhero thing is because I work at a boys' school, I can't particularly say whether it have a similar impact on the girls. Maybe it would, maybe it wouldn't. But our boys, like whenever we have like a sort of challenge, we'll give it a superhero name. So one of our awards is the Super Saiyan Award. Yeah. So from the Dragon Ball Z show. And
you say that like as if I wouldn't know.
Oh, you know, you never assume. You know what I mean? Never assume. And we have a little picture logo. It's like how to get big, and it'll be a picture of Goku, you know, training hard.
Yeah.
Eating well, and he's eating, you know, all this food, and then sleep like a baby, basically. So yeah, the kids love those ones.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what he does, right?
Yes. I have watched some Dragon Ball Z.
Tell me more about the gym, because like your facility like within the school isn't that big.
No.
It's I think you told me it was like 100 square meters, or maybe it's smaller.
Yeah, it's about that. And every morning I'll unpack the gym and move into the foyer area. So we do some like warm up pre-ab stuff out there. I'll also take out some lighter weights like squats, and the boys have what we call learner boxes, and it's basically sets the bar at a height whereby they'll be lifting as if it was a plate attached.
Yes.
So they have like the actual metal sticks, which I think are a bit more space saving, which I may invest in someday. But it's just kind of like...
Sorry, wait, what metal sticks?
You know the ones... Have you ever seen... you know Yannick's young lifter, and he lifts off the particular metal uprights?
The little stands?
Yeah, little stands. Yeah, I think that'd be a cool thing to have maybe one day. But currently we just have some boxes, and the boys can take that out and they can do their deadlifts with their...
And what bars are they using?
When they're using those ones, that's just an unloaded bar, so that'd be anywhere from 5, 10, 15 or 20 kilos.
Dude, you know what you get? It's even cheaper than that. This is what I have downstairs. I'll show you. Just get a thin piece of ply and you cut them into the shape of barbells, and you can load them on.
We have dummy plates.
Yeah,
we've got those as well. Yeah, but just say if a kid can only lift 5 kilograms, it's just the bar sort of thing. Yeah.
But those dummy plates, like, they make such a difference to someone learning, because not only does it set it at the right height, but it gives them the feel of the roll.
Yes.
Whereas there's uprights, and that's sometimes why our new lifters get stuck in competition when they're just lifting off the uprights.
Yep.
Because that doesn't move anymore, and they're used to like...
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they have to walk to the bar and they can't pull it in. Yeah, different level of engagement. That's a good point. Yeah, really good.
So I as much as possible, and I know in open competitions they're usually pretty kind about that. Like they'll let you maybe put like a 2.5 kilo plate on instead of the
yes.
Just having it off the dummy bar. But yeah.
No, it's interesting. That's a good point. Really good. See, learning.
Well, that's why we do this thing, right?
Oh, 100%, 100%. Like these experiences are just so valuable, particularly for someone like me where I don't have like multiple people on the gym floor with me. It's just sort of me, you know what I mean? And I have these young ones to sort of look after, and, sometimes they challenge me, but not often. I'm not in an environment where I'm, sitting down with a coffee and talking training principles all the time, or, oh, I saw you doing this. Why did you do that? Have you thought of doing this? Or, which is why these sort of things, you got to sort of seek out, and it's really, really good to have, I think.
Yeah, well, that's why I do this, man. I get to talk to so many people because otherwise I'm in the middle of South Windsor, middle of nowhere, and just insulated from the world of weightlifting. I mean, it's really good that we have Facebook and all these like groups and stuff that we're both a part of.
Yep.
But there's nothing like, meeting up in person and having a yarn about weightlifting.
And social media is fantastic for a lot of things, but also like sometimes things are lost in the translation, and also you might see that successful lift, but you might have missed what's happened before or what was said, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So, you know what I mean? Like I saw a post like that, for example, where someone said, oh, this was actually his 10th attempt. I was like, gosh, like, 'cause I would never, if someone missed something 10 times, I'd be like, mate, let's have a little breather, or let's call it like you know what I mean? Like it's time to go eat some food, you know what I mean? Whereas other coaches, they might like that. And so you look at it, you go, oh, okay, that gives it some background, but that's not always there in the message, It might be like, 160 kilos, you know what I mean? You're like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, and it's always like, we changed this one thing, and then they got this lift.
Yeah.
But they, like, is it that one thing? Is
Yes,
it like
yes.
the journey that took them to this one thing that this coach said?
And that's why, you always got to be. I love listening to people, and I think it comes with time where you want to try to listen first about what they're doing and get the whole picture. And if they ask you for any advice, you can sort of give it, but you don't want to be like too specific, particularly if you're not watching them because you haven't seen them move the whole time. You know what I mean? Like so often you see people, they take a routine from somewhere else and bring it into what they're doing, but it might not fit your environment or your athletes or that particular stage. Like one of the best examples, remember that movie 300?
Yes.
And like, you're doing like ab holds, during the whole movie and all the rest of it, a few hundred crunches, but they released a particular workout.
Yeah, the Spartan workout.
Yes, which I was in a commercial gym at the time, which, I got like 100 invites to go try this workout.
Yeah.
And I was just like, well, but is that all they did? Are you sure? Like, but then, you read, and it's like, they did 6 months of solid strength work, with, nutritionists and physios and massage therapists. And then at the very end, they did this workout as a bit of a like, let's give them a bit of a shake up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, and everyone's going to hear and they've missed, this part.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, and also, so there's 1,001 examples of that happening, and you just think, oh, like, it's got to come from in, and that's what I think the coach is kind of there for, hopefully, or at least thinking about these things, you know? Like, what do my people need? They come in the door, like, what do they need? You might have these preconceived ideas, like, this guy's, like looking pretty strong, powerful. They're going to be my ticket into becoming a weightlifting super coach.
Yes.
And they might be like, oh, I just enjoy lifting generally, but I don't want to compete. And, and
you get that all the time.
Yeah,
because, I mean, in the weightlifting world, you kind of need one athlete to just do very well, and that can elevate your stature as a coach, right?
Yeah. And also, like, is that the best thing for them then, or is it better to progress slowly? Every person is going to be different, come from different places, and it's also going to be something you got to reassess. You know what I mean? Like, because everyone's life changes. Like, you know what I mean? Like, jobs or relationships or education. Like all their different needs. And I'm not sure about you, but you might sit on a Sunday and go, "Oh, I'm going to change up my program." You know what I mean? Or I might, do this differently. And then you think, oh, why am I going to do that? You know what I mean? I particularly do things like this, always thinking about different things to do.
Yes.
And then you got to go, well, what is my actual goal again? Like, am I achieving that sort of thing? So, yeah, it's always like something you got to keep evaluating and looking at what do they need and what's going to suit them best sort of thing, yeah. But end of the day, weightlifting's a cool sport.
So, you're coaching some people, like your population of people that you're coaching are like not only in a state of like constant growth and change,
Yep.
but like they're going through like one of the toughest times in their life,
Oh, yes.
like puberty and like HSC,
Man.
like they're becoming men,
Yep.
or women, if
Yep.
in the case of some of the females that you
Yep.
might train. Like, talk to me about that, because
Yep.
coaching adults is hard. I couldn't imagine, and I've coached kids too,
Yep.
but I can't imagine coaching like adolescents.
Okay, yeah. Well, I think one of the best things that I've sort of tried to stay in touch with is how, in sometimes, an adolescent's world is like so small. You know what I mean? As an adult, because you've had so many experiences, you might have traveled or you've met so many different people, you realize that like if something little happens, that's just a small thing amongst everything else. Whereas for an adolescent, a little thing can have a significant impact on their life. You know what I mean? And
Can you give me an example?
well, let's just say, like we're both in a relationship, but let's just say, you have a friend that's single and a girl or boy stopped texting back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That can have a huge impact on an adolescent, you know what I mean? Because in their heads, they might have dreamt up all these things that were going to happen. They've already thought, or like, in my school's case, they failed a test, God forbid. You know what I mean? And it's like, it can really have a huge, so you always got to be aware of those sort of moments and just be really fast responding, because all the studies show that when you attack any sort of thing like that fast, it's less likely going to become a problem.
Yeah.
So always on the lookout of any boy or girl where their behavior changes really suddenly. And this sort of saying, hey, how you going? Like, what's happening? You know what I mean? And it might not come out straight away, or even just that sort of little conversation might be enough to sort of kick them back into gear. And that's what I love about the weight room. I always tell them it's always there for them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like this is an extracurricular program. They don't get in trouble if they don't go, but it is always there for them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's there during the school holidays. It's like whatever's happened in their life, this is here for you. You know what I mean? If you just want to come in and, feel better about yourself, like do your thing, that's fantastic. If you want to chat, that's what it's there for. And, because, a lot of pressure in adolescence, and unfortunately things are happening to kids these days at a, more significant sort of rate than previous years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like social media, as we said before, is a great thing, but it's also in terms of adolescent pressure, it has a huge impact. You know what I mean? It's sort of like really sort of can have some unsettling sort of impacts on them. Which is unfortunate.
Of course.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's an exciting thing to be a part of, but you always want to sort of be mindful of those things, like the amount of impact something can have on an adolescent. Yeah.
Can you give me like a case study of a situation where the weight room has offered respite from the outside world for one of your kids?
Yeah. So I think I actually posted it up on my Insta wall. But a boy, he finished school last year. He won't mind me talking about this because he's publicly said it before as well. Yeah. So his name's Nigel, and he came to the school in year 7, and quite an overweight sort of boy. And
strong boy.
It became strong, yeah. and that was the whole thing, whereby he talks about it very openly now. He's a very well-spoken young man, and I'm so proud to have had some sort of part in his life. He's a fantastic kid, and he still comes to the gym. Like, I love when he comes, it's awesome. But I remember in year 7, it took him until term 3 until he actually spoke. You know what I mean? He just sort of nod and smile, and that was it. He didn't speak. You know what I mean? But and then
at all?
No. Well, not to the coaches.
To coaches, yeah.
You know what I mean? He sort of started when TJ, the guy I mentioned earlier, was still in the gym, and in term 3, he sort of spoke, and TJ goes, "Oh, Nigel spoke today." I was like, "Oh, awesome! That's so cool." But you see, him talking to his friends, but he wouldn't sort of say anything, and he sort of this.
Do you remember what he said?
Oh, just said hello.
Okay.
You know? But he is sort of like, not that he wouldn't speak, but, you know, he wouldn't.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like, he's not.
It wasn't
he's not
a mute or anything.
communicating with you guys.
Yeah, but he just developed this real sense of passion in the weight room. And I remember him and his core group of training friends, and one of the other boys dumbbell shoulder press 10 kilos, and they're like, look at this guy, he's so strong. And then they're all like improving their overhead dumbbell ability, you know. They're just like, you know, we've got to beat this kid, you know. And they create this real sort of passion of like, you know, like improving their technique, improving in their ability to move up the programs and trying to get stronger and fitter. And then from then on, there wasn't one workout where Nigel wasn't covered in sweat. He would train 3 times a week religiously for his whole school life.
Yeah.
And every workout, he was the hardest worker in the room. He was covered in sweat every time. And he would do, you know, whatever you thought he needed to do. So he had a very duck-like sort of stance, you know, based on his anatomy. And so TJ at the time.
For the people that are at home, when you say duck-like.
Yeah, so his toes are turned extremely far out. So very sort of like old school Chinese sort of, you know, to see those pictures, you know what I mean? It's like very much like that. And TJ at the time said, oh, look, you know, you're very strong in this position, but, you know, stability-wise, it's quite challenging. So we invented these exercises. So he would be in an overhead squat position and had to do, we call it the duck dance.
Yeah.
So he had to lift one foot up and put it down, then the other foot. And he developed all these attributes that were going to give him the foundation to sort of build upon as he got older, and just kept excelling, you know. And he finished, you know, uni being a very strong sort of person, but the training, he always said, gave him the sort of foundation for all his other stuff. It gave him the confidence. It gave him the structure. He goes, okay, well, I could sit at home and say I'm going to study for 14 hours, or I can study, go to the gym, study, you know. This creates that sort of structure that a young person needs. And, you know, he constantly talks about it and always keeps it in his life, and I'm so proud of it, you know.
And he was one of the lifters that you took to a powerlifting comp and a weightlifting comp.
Yeah, he's done both. Yeah, he's done both. He had he also got like some opportunities in rugby union, but he went to Japan on a tour, but he actually broke his ankle.
Oh no.
He playing rugby in Japan. Good experience for him, but I think he may have even played on the broken ankle. So I think it didn't help matters.
Yeah.
So he's sort of been on the path to getting his strength back and all that. And I actually had dinner with his family not that long ago, and I checked out his home gym, and cool little setup he's got there that his dad built for him. So yeah,
I think you posted that on Instagram as well.
The home gym?
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw that. I was like, this is cool, man. I was like, it's like, yeah, okay, this is what a young boy needs in his life, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's a really cool thing. And some of the equipment like he bought, like sourced himself, and some of it, you know, we had a bit of too much equipment, plates for our space. So I said, look, you know, take this, you know, pay for this. So yeah, it was cool.
It seems that you have this like really close relationship with a lot of these boys even after they finish school. This is something that I don't know, maybe some other people at home might have with some of their teachers, but I definitely have not looked back since I left school.
Yep.
So that's pretty amazing. Like, especially like meeting up with the families of these kids and stuff like that. Like, what's that like?
Well, it's sort of like, because I mentioned the GPS system before, and all those schools refer to the old boys. And there's this real connection between boys that went to the school and, you know, sort of giving back to the program in some sort of aspect. And like my athletics program relies very heavily on my old boys, so to speak, coming back and coaching.
Yeah.
And they'll come back and they'll help coach, and they'll pass on like the stories or the good experiences, or like they just really know the kids, and there's that connection, you know what I mean? And so there's a big sense of that involved in these sort of schools, which this is included. And I guess like I'm very blessed in the weight room is a fun place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So there's always positive memories. There's always...
Oh, definitely not always positive. Definitely not always positive, but I think like it's just they put their own music on. Like it's not like Kurt Rich's playlist, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's whatever kid goes, oh, look, we have no earphones in the gym. everyone's one music, you know what I mean? And if a kid complains on the music, I go, all right, well, you know, next time we'll listen to your music, you know what I mean? And, you know, whatever it is, we'll listen to it. If it's classical, if it's rap, if it's heavy metal, whatever, like, let's have some fun with it, you know?
So it's just a safe place.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. It's sort of a place, you know, and it's like within the school, but like, you know, it's kind of like a safe place. Yeah, exactly right. You know, like I am a teacher, you know what I mean? So, you know, like as long as they're safe, it's fine. But, you know, if they want to, you know, have a bit of a banter and joke around about a few things, you know, as long as they're doing it in a safe manner and no one's being hurt because of it, then yeah, it's fine. You know, like, you know, they have some fun and they seem to enjoy it, which is, like if you look at those long-term athletic development plans, you know, the fun is meant to be the first stage. So if they connect fun to, you know, exercise or weights training, you know, then they're hopefully going to be more likely to stick with it, because when they finish high school, they're like, oh, I should keep the weight training up. That was fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we're very blessed in our school because they're so academically gifted. If they do decently at sport, they can get these opportunities to, you know, we've had some kids go to America, and one of them, you know, a school captain, he was a fantastic kid, and he went to UCLA.
Yeah.
And he will still come back in the holidays and go, oh, can I train the school gym? Because there's nothing like the school gym. I was like, mate, you're at like one of the biggest universities in the world. It's like even they have like multiple gyms.
Yeah.
And they're like what we would call like high performance centers, you know what I mean? And it is phenomenal with like 36 platforms. He goes, yeah, but this is the school gym, you know? I want to train there. I want to listen to my music and like get some sick beats on, you know? It's like, oh, cool. It's just awesome to be a part of. And it's, you know, definitely adds so much value to my life, and hopefully I'm doing something to, you know, add value to their life as well.
Talk to me about long-term athlete development.
Okay. So I think like you kind of within particular, I'll start off with this, particularly within Australia, whenever a kid is good at a sport, what happens to them? Like whatever sport it is, what would you suggest happens to that kid?
What usually happens?
Yeah, what would you think?
I think they usually get pushed towards that sport more and more, right?
Yeah.
Go into the rep level.
Yeah, the rep level, and that's a term you hear all the time, to the point where it's like rep Division 7. You're like, well, is that representative, or are they just, you know, is that just a normal club team? You know what I mean? Everything is a representative thing these days. Everything's a development program, which is fine if that's what it is, but it's like, is there any development going on, or is your athlete really good and you're making them play a lot? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not surprised when I see people when they sort of turn 18 and they go, I'm over this sport. I've done it since I was 5 and wasn't allowed to do anything else, which is a real shame. You know what I mean? Whereas opposed to, not all the case, some athletes like doing multiple sports, some might just want to do one sport. But generally you might find that, let's just say, you know, their first coach, they might have laid all the foundation.
Yeah.
Then they might get on to another coach that knows less about them but sort of gets that next level. The person that gets the credit is that next level coach, not that coach that did all those development stages. You know what I mean? And also, like, playing more can sort of get you better results in the short term, but not necessarily long term. Like, I think tennis is a fantastic example. You know, you hear tennis coaches talk about things like, oh, that kid just plays to win. And you're like, oh, what do you mean? Like, oh, they just return the ball and wait for the other person to make a mistake. Whereas they're not really, but potentially they're not working on getting the faster serve or being able to hit the ball like really close to the line, which of course when you're first learning, you know, you make more errors that way. But long term, which athlete is going to be, you know, on the path to sort of more success? You know what I mean? So sometimes being involved in more games or more matches doesn't necessarily sort of improve on that. So I guess long-term athletic development will look something along the lines where you're making the kid enjoy, or not making them, but you're creating opportunities for them to enjoy moving their bodies, and hopefully it's making them feel good about themselves. But so when they can attach those two things, they go, 1, I'm improving, and 2, I feel really good about this, then they're going to be more likely to stick to it, or at least I think. You know, and that's where all that fun side of things, that's where all the learning and all that really good stuff sort of happens. Then you're starting to really look at what does this athlete need for them as themselves in what they're trying to do? And then also, what does this sport sort of require? And, all those little benchmarks or little things they may need. Then you start to sort of really look at that. So, like there's certain qualification periods, or they might need to make those representative teams to progress or to, get further opportunities. And then you're just trying to set them up with all those foundational personal skills. So can your athlete look after themselves? Because you won't always be there. You know what I mean? Like, can your athlete at a certain age, know like healthy food choices? Can they cook for themselves? You know what I mean? And can they, are they aware of, the amount of sleep and the impact that has on their life? You know what I mean? Sort of, and that's been the real, like, sort of thing I've been trying to do for a long time now, is not be like a trainer where I'm standing over someone counting their reps and talking through every single rep. It's like, no, I coach you. I inform you on how to do things. Like, I'm always going to be here to help you. But the ultimate goal is that you finish and you're fully capable of looking after yourself. And that's, like sometimes what I think would make a really good athlete, someone that is able to sort of look after themselves physically. They're not dependent on other people, because, it's fantastic when people are involved in those programs where they have everything tailored for, but not every sport is like that. And sometimes there's a lot of space in between. You know what I mean? They might get injured and they have to rebuild themselves to get back into whatever system or program that they want to be in, which is, a huge mental battle.
Yeah.
Which is a whole other kettle of fish, which, you know what I mean? I'm no expert in the psychology of an athlete, but, like, mental health is a huge thing. You know what I mean? Like, what do you do when you become overstressed? You know what I mean? Is a religion part of your life? Are you a spiritual person? Do you need to meditate to stay level-headed, or do you need to spend time with family? You know what I mean? Like, all those, different cultural things. Some people are fine to explore sporting opportunities overseas, but some people you say, oh, you have to, be too, like you're not 2 minutes away from your mum anymore. They might break down. You know what I mean?
And have you had athletes break down?
Look, not directly within the weight room.
Yeah.
I have seen it within the school in terms of some athletes get really sort of pushed externally, and they might not have achieved particular things they wanted to achieve.
Yeah.
But it's never too late or anything like that. But
Well, they often feel that it is too late, right?
yeah, there's just that pressure. You know what I mean? And it's just like, can they come back from whatever setback it was?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And is it worth it? Like, and what is around them? What's their life situation? You know what I mean? Like, I remember training a bloke who was quite successful in his sport, and his girlfriend got pregnant, and he was at a level where, there's like, well, this is where you could be going and potentially that money, or it's like you have a kid that's going to be born in 9 months. You got to start earning money now. You know what I mean? You got to make that choice.
Yeah.
Do you pursue the sport, or do you give it all up and then, take a job earning, what you can based on your qualifications? And there's be a million and one of those stories.
Yeah. It's and it's also obviously a very difficult decision to make at such a formative age as well, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, you're at an age where maybe you're not set up to make those decisions fully as well.
Yeah, well, apparently you can't sort of quantify risk until you're 25, which I can definitely attest to. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you sort of, when you're about 25, you actually think about things, whereas you're like, I never thought about this before. You know what I mean? Like, take me back then, like that was a really good time before. There was none of this thought. You just did stuff, and, that's the world of the adolescents. They make mistakes, and quite often, they sort of need someone there to go, oh, this is what happened. Do you realize that what you did created this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because I saw, forget where it was, but it was something like, it was like, never assume a student is aware of what they are doing is incorrect. And, I think my mum is a primary school teacher, you know what I mean? And like, she'll, like anything, like you got to teach a kid how to brush their teeth, how to tie their shoelaces, you know what I mean? Like things you may think, oh, they've learned this at home, but you can't assume that. And like I teach year 7.
Yeah.
So it's like you got to teach them everything. No, you got to line up in a straight line. This is what it looks like, okay? Okay, we got it. All right, let's move forwards now. Let's come into the change room. Let's get changed, without screaming today.
Yeah.
What? No screaming. Just get changed, please. Like all those little things. I never assume that they know what is expected of them. Like that's your role partly as an educator, into like help them sort of like, be able to achieve things. You know what I mean? It's like, well, look, you might be really clever, but are you aware that, if you do not speak politely, you may not get the job?
Yeah.
Like you might be fully qualified, but, there's certain, like sort of customs that people sort of attribute towards success and politeness that can sort of help you get a job as well. And these are, valuable lessons to learn, but they might not have learned to, shake hands and look people in the eye. Like some people really respect those sorts of things, or please, excuse, thank you. These are all like things, that part of education that might not be part of like, that's written down, you know what I mean? It's just like these things you do.
Yeah.
Which is sometimes more important, I think.
Crazy. Do you compartmentalize your roles around, like, obviously being a teacher, a coach, and I guess a coordinator of the athletic department as well? Like, do you have to have, I guess, sort of different hats, or are you the same Kurt Rich throughout?
No. So it's like we call it the split personality. And the year 7s really struggle with it, but the older boys think it's quite funny.
Yeah.
So in the classroom, it's, like the typical Sir or Mr. Rich.
Yeah.
But in the weight room, it's just Kurt or Coach Kurt.
Yeah.
And it's that sort of like the different levels. Doesn't mean like, my expectations are any lower or anything like that, but this sort of allows me, because it can be quite exhausting to be like constantly on.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like it's just like in this like teaching mode, whereas I enjoy the weight room.
Yeah.
It's like, I love it, but I also love teaching. But it's just good to sort of distinguish a slightly different sense of a role. You know what I mean? And not that I'm ever negligent in any way, I don't think. You know what I mean? Or sort of, doing anything particularly different. But it's just sort of established like, all right, because, I can go from a classroom and then walk downstairs to the weight room, and the same kid I was teaching is now in the weight room.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the boys are pretty respectful, like they don't particularly bring up random topics in class or vice versa, you know what I mean? Like,
but I guess it's for them as well, it's helpful because it's the expectation of, like their expectation of you is different. And they see you as, okay, he's not wearing his Mr. Rich hat now. Yeah. So like we're in the weights room, I can sort of be a little bit freer. I'm safe here to speak, I guess, my mind a little bit more. I'm safe to ask him maybe some more personal questions about myself and what I'm going through.
Yes.
Like, it adds to that environment of, like you said before, this place is the constant in your crazy, ever-changing life outside.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and also because I've been doing the weight room longer than I have teaching in the classroom, so I'm still constantly trying to improve both roles. But particularly this year, more so the teaching. My emphasis this year has been improving in that aspect. Like getting my content, understanding my content, making sure my assessments are, challenging, and it's like producing, my feedback is very much based on the outcomes and all those sorts of things. So, and that improves you as a coach. So like, you're looking up different things, and it's interesting how closely correlated those two things are, like the teaching and the coaching. So like one example would be, I think it's, you cannot sort of give feedback to something you haven't expressed as an outcome. So everyone would experience as the coach where the athlete seems to be frustrated, and you're constantly giving them different cues and all this sort of thing, and then you just sort of think like, am I giving them feedback on stuff that I've actually asked of them?
Yeah.
So let's just say you said, I want you to like squat, and I want you to keep your chest upright, or like as your back upright, sorry. And they do this, but their heels lifted. So you can say it two different ways. One way you can say, that was good, but your heels lifted, let's try to fix that at time. Or you could ignore that they successfully achieved your outcome and you go, your heels lifted. And then they get in this sense, well, like, I know this is a hard movement, so I'm never going to be perfect, or in my coach's eyes, so this is frustrating as hell, because no matter what I do, my coach is always going to find something negative to pick on.
Yeah.
Whereas if you go, you achieve that outcome, keep that up, now we're going to focus on this. Or you might just go, this athlete's had enough feedback today.
Yeah.
This is the outcome they've achieved. We're so proud of you. Next workout, do not forget it. We're going to keep on that, and we're going to build upon that particular skill or that exercise or whatever you're working on. And that really has resonated with me a lot this year, in that trying to give the outcomes, going, this is what we're looking for you to get, the best possible mark in this assessment, or this is the exercise, this is the sort of framework, you know what I mean? You're looking for these attributes, and let's work towards that, you know what I mean? And trying to be very specific about that.
A real eye-opening moment for me at school was in year 12, when I realized that the syllabus documents were literally just the outcomes that people were looking for.
You've learned that the week before the HSC?
So, like, in a test or whatever,
Yep.
there's key things that they're looking for.
Yes.
And usually it's all spelled out.
Yep. Particularly in subjects where it's very content-based. Yeah.
So, like, your geography, your history, or sometimes English is a little bit different, but kind of the same. But
yeah. I know English I struggled with after year 10. I was very a black and white person. I love recounting and going, this book was about this.
Yeah.
And then they'd be like, oh, but have you looked at this interpretation? I'd be like, as the boy that I was, I'd be like, the hell do you mean interpret? I'm like, anyway.
It said this.
Yeah.
This is what it's about.
The wall was blue, okay? That's all it said there. Yeah.
Whereas I was the opposite.
Yeah, right.
I was like, English was the best for me because all I had was all these weird ideas about what I was reading and saying.
Yeah, right.
And most of the time I wouldn't even be able to recount. My memory is so bad I wouldn't be able to recount all the stories.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, anyway, so yeah, the syllabus thing. But then taking it to weightlifting or to coaching or to any sport, like sometimes that just disappears because you're like, okay, yes, I have to snatch, yes, I have to clean and jerk, but the only objective is that the weight goes up. But sometimes that isn't the objective of the session, right?
Yeah, 100%, yeah. And you know what I mean? Like, there's so many different aspects to get stronger, different ways to test the human body, which is like you see on your like Insta, you're exploring, you know what I mean? It's like, well, my athletes, they might struggle to hold the weight above their head, so let's challenge them. Let's do a yoke walk holding the weight above their head, and it's fantastic. You know what I mean? And it can cross over, or maybe not, but I would assume it would have.
Well, it's exactly what you said. Sometimes you try something with a desired outcome in mind.
Yep.
And as long as you and the athlete are on the same page and understand that this is an experiment because everyone's body reacts differently.
Yes. Yep.
And then, at the end of the 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever time frame you give it, you retest and you say, look, oh, wow, this worked.
Yep.
This has been a huge improvement. Or maybe it doesn't work and you're like, okay, that's okay. This still wasn't a waste of time because it might not have achieved this outcome.
Yep.
But look at the confidence you've gotten with walking with something above your head. If you ever have to be a removalist, we're on the right path.
Well, I think everyone at some point, unless they earn a lot of money, will have to do some removalist work. You know what I mean? Or they're shoveling soil or carrying a wheelbarrow. That's like everyday life. It's a reality, And I guess within our school program, the end goal is the weightlifting for us, you know what I mean? In terms of our what I would deem as like perfecting of like weightlifting training. So the boys we do snatching from the beginning, but the boys in terms of their jerking, they would have done like dumbbell shoulder pressing, standing barbell press or military press and then push pressing before they do the jerk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that is our progression. It may be right, it may be wrong, but that's what we have done, and it looks like it works, you know, because the boys, they're familiar with the movement, they have some stability there, they have the strength there, they understand what it's like to have a barbell above their head. They've already done, you know, their squatting and their lunging variation, so they can squat jerk or split jerk, and we're just going, well, you're going to do the start of a push jerk, but then we're going to either squat under it or split our legs. And they go, it's like, I think they call it chaining of exercises, so to speak, and it seems to click really well.
So when you say that, you say like one exercise leads on to the next exercise.
Yeah, it's all the I believe programs work the best when there's some sort of progression. You know what I mean? So like, you know, there's different ways to write programs. You can just sort of like write it out and see how they adapt, and then write the next one, or you can write the start, the finish, and then bridge them two together. You know, there's different sort of ways you can go about it, and it will differ for different athletes and different coaches and different situations. But yeah, that is, you know, there's different ways you can sort of go about trying to achieve a particular end goal or a particular milestone.
Yeah. I think a very great way of, at least for weightlifting programming, is to start at the end and work your way back.
Yeah.
Mainly because, like, that is the outcome you're desiring,
yes,
right?
Yep.
And that doesn't need to be like, if you're writing a 12-week program, write the 12th week in advance. It might be that cycle, so like that 4th week.
Yep.
So this is where I want them to be at week 4.
Yep.
This is where I want them to be at week 8.
Yep.
This is where I want them to be at week 12.
Yep.
And you've got 3 blocks to get them to where they need to be.
Yes.
But obviously, like you said, there's many ways to skin the cat.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Like that way of having those outcomes along the way is a easy way for us to quantify and for us to actually be able to choose exercises and progressions to get the athlete there as well.
Yeah, because weightlifting is a sport that's different than, say, a team field sport in terms of there's no, besides qualification periods, there's no real sort of like you got to win this many games to make it to the finals or the top 8 or anything like that. Yeah. It's just like, you know, you may qualify for a particular event. Hopefully you can do it without completely busting yourself. You know what I mean?
Or having to do multiple competitions.
Yeah. You know, you want to do an adequate number. So you go, okay, this is our end goal. So everything up to then is leading to this. You know what I mean? Like so often you'll see people, they'll max the week before that comp and then comes to the comp and they don't perform. And it's like, well, that was unfortunately unsuccessful. The goal is to peak at this comp. And, you know, some lifters are really good at that. They go, well, yes, I've done all the foundation work. I've done, you know, 110. I know at comp I can go for 115 or whatever it is, you know, whereas other lifters are sort of more geared that they want to try to, I've already hit this lift. I can do it in the comp now. You know what I mean? And you got to sort of like play with that, whatever your coaching philosophy is and what you think is going to be best for the athlete. But it's a very exciting sport when you get to go, well, we get to do all this prep work for this event. You know what I mean? And we wonder why the athletes get stressed out. It's like, you know, all that sacrifice, all that work, you got, you know, a few seconds to prove it.
Oh, those poor weightlifters.
Oh, yes. We do our best, don't we? Yeah. It's a real, I think the people that really stick with it, they enjoy that process. And another thing I think, because I've only been in this sport for a short time now, but, you know, it's largely to do with like things that you do and the social media, is that the world of weightlifting in Australia is becoming, despite where the numbers are increasing, but it's becoming like more potentially close-knit.
Yeah.
Like so often you'll see lifters that have gone to a different state for travel or whatever, and they've lifted in the gym in a different state.
Yeah.
Like how fantastic is that?
Amazing.
And quite often it's like, well, did they charge you? No. It's like, well, this person's running a business. Like you know, like how wonderful is that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like a learning experience for that athlete, potentially for the coach and other, but it's also that huge bonding connection thing. You know, it's like this coming together of people. And weightlifting has people from all walks of life, doesn't it? It's like, it's not sort of like if someone goes, what is a weightlifter like? You go, well, which one? Like what club? What is the lifter? They're all so different. And unique individuals. You have like different levels of employment and education and cultural backgrounds. Is this awesome?
And then different philosophies, different atmospheres, different.
Yes.
Like we were talking before we started the podcast about how your gym is like there's two zones. There's like quiet, where you're explaining to people what's going on or yelling at someone. And then
politely.
And then there's like this massive ball of energy that explodes, and you can see that in their lifters when they get to competition, where like they do love that excitement and that like they bring that to the stage, and it's really cool. Whereas maybe there's another gym that lifters are a lot more quiet, lot more composed. There's no music in the gym, and this just like, and none of it's wrong. There's no wrong way. It's just the way that the people in that environment, the coach that facilitates that environment, it's just all of those factors come in together to create the space and the gym and the culture.
But that's another thing that bring up is like people generally perform in an environment they're comfortable with.
Which everyone's had lifters where they peak in their club gym or whatever it is. They go to a club and they're a different human. They really struggle. And so with those sorts of people, it's like we've got to challenge them. So say I've had lifters that love the yelling and the screaming and the loud music, and it's like, well, let's see how you handle lifting in silence. And it really puts them off. You're like, well, it's the same exercise. Like you can start to challenge them once they reach a certain level. It's like, well, you're going to go to a different gym, maybe a different state. You're going to have competitors staring at you. You're not going to have all these random spectators, and they might know what weightlifting is. They might be on their phone laughing, or they might have a dog or a little baby. Who knows? And you have to perform to your optimal. It's like, so you got to like challenge them for this. And it's like, so sometimes, particularly if I know an athlete is like really wants everything to be perfect for them, I like to challenge them on purpose. You know what I mean? Like, what's to stop the coach making a silly face when they're about to lift? Someone in the stand can do that. You know what I mean? Someone can be like sticking their tongue out, and it's like, you're really going to say that's going to impact your lifting? Really like challenge them to think about like internalize it. So that's what the weightlifting can be. This internal focus where everything else could be a blur and you're just focusing on the barbell. Which is what in my mind you should be doing. You know what I mean? If those external things are impacting you, then are you focused enough to perform? I don't know.
Very true.
I don't know.
Yeah, 100%. I agree completely. I mean, we've had times where we've had to like. I mean, I think we made a funny video about this a long time ago, but
do not walk in front of them. Yeah.
But like sometimes those are things that, like for certain athletes, you might actually need to do that stuff.
Yes.
Otherwise, they become princesses within the sport. Right?
Yeah. Well, you see it all the time in the warm-up room where people get put off, and you're like, well, what happened?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, like someone was over there. You're like, okay. Goodness, they're like, if I was ever on I doubt this will ever happen, but on an elite level. And because you have multiple coaches with one athlete. Wouldn't you just, if you know an athlete is like a little bit sensitive to people talking loudly, wouldn't you talk loudly?
Yeah, I would. I talk loudly. I've stood in front of lifters. I've thrown things at lifters. In a safe way. Not like anything that'll hurt them. But like,
we're coming across really bad now.
But like, it is important for their development. Like, especially if that's their problem when they go to competition, that the slightest thing throws them off. Like, you need to do that. And then, as a competitor, you can also use that to your advantage as well. Like, oftentimes, I will purposely stare at my competitors while they're warming up. Or like, if I'm lifting directly in front of them, I will like, poke my tongue out while I'm snatching to
or act like it's really easy, do the boo thing, do this one
But like, there's so much you can play with, to either gain advantage or limit your disadvantage.
And that's one thing I think that I've learned so much from a sport I used to be involved with was surfboat rowing, and it's a really like raw, uncomfortable sort of sport, and very loose in terms of the way the competition is run. You know what I mean? Like, I've been in situations where I think it was a state titles or something like that, where we had packed up our boat And then they told us, oh no, you have another race today. So we had to run down and jump in another club's boat. So, different rigging and everything, and race to qualify for the next day.
What?
Yeah, exactly. And if you are in a position where you're really protective and oh no, this is you can't succeed in that sport.
Yeah.
So I had multiple different coaches and sweeps, and I remember one of my first ones, he was
So basically, you line up on the beach to start, and you want to think across a beach. How often is it completely the same? Never, right?
No. Yeah.
So the starter will do his best, but it most likely will not be in a situation where it's perfect for everyone. So we had a sweep, and he would purposely make us start in the most dreadful conditions.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we'd be rowing. He'd be like, stop rowing. He'd turn the boat sideways or backwards, and then he'd be like, start screaming at us because there's a wave coming, going, fix it, because that can happen in a race.
Yeah.
So constantly being prepared for, different situations, and it's a sport with so many external factors where you'd be like, I remember the last Aussie titles I was part of, I was lucky enough to make it the final and get bronze, but we raced over 3 days, and every day the conditions were so different. The first day there was a bit of swell, a bit of a wave, so it required a lot of power off the start, then a big slog at the back and that. Day 2 was completely flat.
Yeah.
Which didn't suit our crew, but particularly when it's flat, if you're big, strong and that, which, we weren't the biggest crew.
Yeah.
That's the sort of conditions that you
just
excel in.
power through, yeah.
But we got through that day. And then on the third and final day, there was 60-kilometer winds coming from the side.
Yeah.
Which
So
is
you
a different...
getting blown out. Or
blown sideways,
yeah,
which is extremely uncomfortable. And, so 3 different days of different conditions. So if you were always training in the one condition or whatever it was, you wouldn't be prepared for whatever the ocean could throw at you. And that's something that I've sort of taken so much into other sports, particularly a sport like weightlifting, where I love the seeing some people are so protective and oh, this is my barbell, this is my space, you know what I mean? Come on, man, let's harden up a little bit,
Do you have athletes that have a favorite barbell?
Definitely, I like to sort of challenge athletes to sort of go, well, you're always doing this, you know what I mean, let's try this, and they seeing how they respond. In terms of the sport of weightlifting, I guess Rick would probably be the most protective species that we've got. You know what I mean? So I'm always throwing, not always, you got to look after them, but I like throwing curveballs his way. You know what I mean?
Mm.
I mean, he picks up his little habits, and you just mess with that. You know what I mean? Because but that one athlete, he had a situation where he had non-optimal time to warm up for his snatch at I think it was the Oceanas.
Yeah.
He had limited time. They were behind schedule, and they go, well, you get this many minutes. That's it. Deal with it, essentially. And that can happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not the most uncommon thing for something to go wrong.
No. It's Murphy's Law, right? Whatever will happen, will happen.
Yeah, so all you can do is prepare yourself for the best possible thing, which, he does pretty successfully. I remember that particular trip, I said, look, because he mostly eats sort of food from his, from Bangladesh, so curries and stuff. I go, you got to eat, 70%, your natural foods. So, his mum made plenty, to her credit, made plenty of food for him to take up, and he ate that food. But you can't just perform and after changing your diet for 3 days, you know what I mean? Some people can do it, but not everyone.
No.
So try to get in this state of comfortability.
Normalcy.
Yeah. So that's the fun, the extra part of coaching. I think that we can all have a good laugh about. But at the end of the day, that can be a huge difference.
It can, 100%. I mean, even the simple thing of forgetting your lucky pair of underwear can throw off an athlete.
Yeah.
In a crazy way.
And there's also a new thing that a lot of coaches have been trying to develop is the tower waving. It's are you a successful tower waver or are you unsuccessful? You know what I mean? And I've heard there's conferences about tower waving. So
is Peter Upham leading them?
Yeah. I'm still waiting for my invite, actually. Yeah, because I think that could hold the key to success. But I have seen footage of other coaches trying to do it. It's just I think there's something in the wrist,
yeah.
perhaps there.
No one does it as good as Pete.
I'm not sure if it's a mobility or endurance thing, so I have to ask, or maybe it's the length of the towel. So yeah, stay tuned.
Especially leading into summer, right?
Oh, 100%. Well, like not every gym is comfortable. You know what I
Do you
mean?
have fans in your gym?
We have one fan, yeah, but it's locked up like a prison, basically. It's,
Yeah.
school property. So very little airflow in summer. It's very uncomfortable, which I love.
Yeah.
And there was an offer on the table to have air conditioning put in, no charge.
Yeah.
And I said no. I go, please put in a classroom.
Yeah.
I think kids can be comfortable in the classroom. I go, in the weight room. I go, I don't want them to be of this very nice. Because my gym, the school gym, is not a beautiful thing. It's beautiful in my eyes.
Yeah, it is beautiful.
But it's
Guys,
not.
he's lying.
But it's not. But you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's not one of those things where it looks like a museum. You've seen those weight rooms, and it's like nothing's broken.
No.
There's no chalk. You know what I mean?
It's you can see that there's been blood, sweat, and tears.
Yes.
All
All
spilled
through
out
it,
in the
which
gym.
I love, you know what I mean? And that's why you see, and it's funny, I had my current main instructor for under yoga, she came to the school to lead the year 12s in a meditation for part of mental health week, and she came into the weight room and she's like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. She goes, this is something that my dad would work out in. And it's just so funny, you have like this yoga instructor loving like this raw bones, like messy weight room. It's like fantastic how people make those connections. They're like, well, this is a place where real work is done, I think is what you said.
Yeah, well, that's it. Like, you see somewhere where it's all pristine and it doesn't look like anyone's ever lifted a weight there. And you're like, oh, like, what's the point?
Yeah. But it's it's not pretty, but it's neat.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like the barbells are where they should be. The dumbbells are where they should be.
Taken care of.
Yeah.
It's not like it's old and rusty and gross.
No, yeah. So it's like, I guess it's it's try to create an image of what it would look like. It's sort of like a well kept 1967 Mustang. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like it's old, but it's beautiful.
Yeah. Do you recognize this?
This is from my school gym. Is this the 700 box?
I think, the 700.
Yeah. So, being the soft man that I am in my 30s, I bought the foam boxes so that my kids wouldn't damage their shins and therefore ruin their sock modeling careers. So we've got the foam boxes for them to jump up now, and I use these for like your benches, and you used to do the stone challenges.
Yeah, we use them for stone loading.
Yeah, because I think the very first day these were here, like one of your trainers hurt his shins. Did he not?
Yeah.
And that scar will still be there. Yeah,
probably.
Does he still train here? Or?
Yeah. He's a young kid. He was like, oh, I can jump onto this pretty easy. I was like,
the tallest one.
Start on the small one. No, I think he was that one.
Oh,
that one there that he.
That's the 900.
That's
I think.
The 900. Yeah.
Do you still have the 1200?
Yeah.
With all the nicknames on it and the successful jumps.
It's downstairs. It's what the microwave is on.
Oh, okay. Put to good use. Yeah. Actually, I use one of the 30 centimeters for my stand-up desk. You know what I mean? It was like we're sitting down now, but like doing this all day, like it's not the best thing for you.
No,
So I love my stand-up desk, my little homemade one.
I thought of making this like a standing podcast, but I thought this is more comfortable.
No, this is awesome. There's like a bit of Halloween represent in the surfboard. Is this for me or is this always here?
No, I just put it up for you today.
Oh, I love the effort. Love the effort. Oh, that's awesome. We also got supportive of Batman, and just the hero we all need.
I think this is probably a good place to leave off.
Yeah, it was a good chat.
Who can we? Where can people find you?
In terms of social media, so the best place would be Coach Kurt Rich.
Yeah.
So that's on Instagram, so at Coach Kurt Rich. And I'm not, don't have a million fans. So if you have any questions or anything like that, like hit us up and I'd hopefully answer what's been asked,
And if people want to, I don't know, get involved in like school programs or try to start their own school program.
Yeah, which is something people do ask. I got a meeting about that tomorrow as well, which is very exciting. I do my best to. I was very, very fortunate with the way I ended up in my position.
Yeah.
I mean, someone was training me. I ended up working for him for free, and then I kept working, started getting paid. He moved on at the right time that I was mature enough to take on that particular role. You know what I mean? That's very, very blessed in that aspect. And also to have learnt of such a well-known person, like such a sort of knowledgeable person in the field of strength and conditioning and looking after adolescents and stuff like that. So can't thank TJ enough for that. But yeah, happy to provide as much info or potential leads in jobs or whatever for school programs. I'm a big believer in getting kids showing their worth through strength. Basically, they just get so much out of it. Yeah.
That's awesome, bro. Guys, you can find Raw Barbell Club at Raw Barbell Club on all of our social medias. So that's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Snapchat, and all those things in between. A few things before you go. We have a free squatting program that we put up on our website. So you can find that if you're a CrossFitter or if you're a fitness athlete and you don't have a coach or you just need a little bit of guidance. It's all there. It's all free. Really easy to get. Download the book. Super easy instructions. Just 2 days a week of squatting. And hopefully at the end of 12 weeks, you'll be super strong like Kurt. And I guess lastly, we also have our free advice group. So it's called Strength Training Tips. If you go on Facebook, you can join that. Again, if you don't have a coach or if you just need a little bit of advice, we're there for you. We want to provide this service for free for anyone that can't get to a gym. And yeah, I think that's it. Well, there's nothing else you want to plug, right?
No, man, that's awesome, man. Good
cool
work.
Guys, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you give us a review. And I'll see you next time.
Beautiful.
Done.